Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Iron Man, the animated series rundown review. This is a forgotten Fox Kids cartoon. I grew up with this cartoon when I was just a kid. I remember it used to come on Fox Kids on Saturday mornings, and back then Fox Kids was kind of like the Cartoon Network of the day's times, And this in my opinion is the best Iron Man cartoon series ever. Well, at least season 2. Season 1 is not that very good. When I think of Iron Man, I think of this version of Iron Man, animation wise, that is. I think of this Iron Man and the voice actor. I still think this is the best, even though there hasn't been that many Iron Man series. I don't count the Avengers when Iron Man shows up there and those animated series, because that doesn't count. But as just a solo Iron Man series, this is the best one. The second one is the anime Iron Man. I can't get into that teenage version one. And as for the old 60s one, I've never seen that. Now, this lasted for 2 seasons from 1994 to 1996. It was part of something known as the Marvel Action Hour. And basically, it was like a half-hour program alongside that of the Fantastic Four. And ironically, both this series and the Fantastic Four went through similar changes in season 2. See, the first season of both shows was a hit with young audience people, but it wasn't necessarily a smash hit. So with both series, they revamped everything in season 2. New animation, a lot of the voice actors changed, a new intro, and the series got much deeper, emotional, and darker. And I love the second season. Like, because of this show, I know most of my Marvel characters and stuff. Like when the movies and stuff came around, and you hear people like AIM, MODOK, Hydra, the Mandarin, like Grey Gargle, all them people, I remember it from this show and stuff, Like this was my knowledge to them, like Spider-Woman, Hawkeye, Sentry, War Machine, Nick Fury, like it all came from this cartoon, which I learned about these characters and stuff. Sadly, just like with Fantastic Four, even though both their second seasons were great, the ratings still were bad and they both got canceled. Also, one thing with both of them is that in the first season, they were narrated by Stan Lee. Now, even though it felt like the second season was ripped straight from the comics, only the animation style was, because they used the Iron Man suit of that time in the 90s. However, none of the stories really came from the comics. Some themes here and there, like in season 1, they did Iron Man's origin, a modified version. And then they did the whole modified version in season 2 of Iron Wars. No, not Iron Wars, Armor Wars. And so, like, the first season animation, it was okay. Like, it was good. But the first season, it really felt like it was stuck in the 80s with that style of animation and storytelling, but it was in the 90s. And so with the first season, I won't talk about it too much because I really hate the first season. The first season, basically, Iron Man has his Force Works team, which is from the comics. And Sentry, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Woman, Iron Man, War Machine was in there from the comics, but they swapped out U.S. Agent for Hawkeye in the show. And so basically it was just like, their team constantly versus the Mandarin's team of Dread Knight, Whiplash, Lash, and Blizzard. Oh, and Hippolyta. She was like, somebody made up for the thing. And I think I said Grey Gargoyle. And this Mandarin was different. He still had his stereotypical racist Asian look from the comics, but he was green. It had claws. And yeah. And so basically, it was always just the Mandarin always spying on like Tony Stark, trying to find out who Iron Man is, and both teams fighting each other. It had silly dialogue, it was goofy, it was very, very cringe. I did not like it whatsoever. Well, I mean, I liked it, but I just didn't like it, love it, you know what I'm saying? But then season two came around. Oh, and I forgot, every time he would transform, he had the briefcase armor from season one, and it would transition from 2D animation to CGI. I remember back then it was just like the coolest thing ever, and now it's just kind of bizarre and weird. Season 2 changed the playing field. Season 2 changed the intro to this rock and roll electric guitar like melody that was still awesome to this day. It's Iron Man, he's shirtless, he has a mullet now in season 2, and he has a hammer and he's just banging it on the anvil, creating his armor and like a factory and stuff. It was so rock and roll. And so like in this season, like I say, he had a mullet. The like you know how like in Young Justice everybody loves it because of how deep emotional it is with like a drama series. This show did it first in season 2. Like my god, they hit some hard themes and everything. So basically in the first episode of season 2, he still has his team and the Mandarin's doing their thing, or his thing. So both teams fight, but there's a problem. See, the Mandarin is constantly going after Tony Stark, trying to blow him up and everything like that. So Iron Man, or Tony turns into Iron Man and he fights. Basically, he feels like his life is always going to be in danger and his friend's life is always going to be in danger. So he fakes his death and he has Iron Man go to like defeat the Mandarin. Well, Force Works is all like, you know, they killed our boss, they killed our friend. We're going to go get the Mandarin and stuff. So they find out he's alive and everything and faked his own death. So after Iron Man, like, you know, blasted the Mandarin to where all his 10 rings scattered around the earth and everything, Force Works was pissed at Tony for lying to them and keeping them in the dark, which is something Tony likes to do. He's a solo person, you know? So they decided if they can't trust their team leader, there is no team, and they split up. However, Julia Carpenter, who's this version of Spider-Woman, decides to stay not as Spider-Woman, but as just like his assistant to like the company or something like that. And Brody decides he's gonna stay because you know him and Iron Man are like a team. So it's already going on a darker theme there, but it gets even darker in the second episode. See, Rhodey, when he's fighting the bad guy shoots his armor down into like the ocean. Well, there's a problem. His suit is not functional, and water is seeping through the eye parts of like you know the helmet, and it's causing water to flood, and he becomes not necessarily claustrophobic, but he gains a phobia of drowning in water. But the phobia isn't necessarily water. The phobia is claustrophobia from being in his suit. He has a literal panic attack. And this goes on throughout the entire season. See, in the first season, it was just like a one and done type episode. But in the second season, it goes on and on with story arcs and stuff, and multiple ones at that. And so after getting this phobia of claustrophobia and stuff, of being in his suit, he decides he's gonna quit being a superhero and just help Tony out with the company. This upsets Tony, but you know, he figures it's for the best and stuff. So in this season, Iron Man is more solo, which I prefer and everything. And he goes up against so many villains. AIM, Hydra, Madame Mask, all kinds of people, right? Even Fing Fang Foom. Like I learned his alien origins and stuff from this cartoon series. The Mandarin is on a quest roaming around the world to find his rings. He even chops a man's finger off and everything. And so like, yeah, so the Mandarin sidelined until the end of the season. And so with the first season, Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, and Spider Woman, they had a huge crush on Tony, always flirting with him in the first season. Since Wanda's gone now it's just Spider Woman flirting with him. And in one episode, well, actually, in one episode in the middle, she actually transformed back into Spider Woman to help him out with Madame Mask and stuff. Hawkeye comes back for one episode because he wants to like clear out his locker, but there's a problem. He has something going on in like his heart. I forget what it is. He has like a mild heart attack or something like that. So he's incapacitated for the episode, and Tony decides to go in him by shrinking himself to fix his problem and everything. Well, while that's happening, I think one of the bad guys sent like a giant robot thing that turns really small and went inside. I think it's called Ultimo or something like that. But it goes inside Hawkeye's body, trying to hurt him even worse. It's a very fascinating episode of Tony in his hydro armor swimming around in Hawkeye's body. And after it's all said and done, Hawkeye still being his jerkish self, like doesn't want to rejoin the team, even though Tony extends his arm out. He's all like, "Look, man, you saved my life and everything, but it doesn't change that you lied to us and stuff." And it just goes on a much more deeper, darker route. Now, as for the armor matched that of the comics of that time. And it changed from season 1 to season 2. In season 1, it had a mouthpiece and it was more brightly colored. In season 2, it was more darker and rustic color. And it had a huge, giant like plate around his mouth area. It's something you've never seen in the live action movies. I really like this style. And his armor changes in season 2 to where it can transform into other armors and stuff. And we get a variety of armors. His drill armor, hydro, his stealth armor, you name it. Now in season 2, they introduce his AI system, h.o.m.e.r, voiced by Tom Kane, who voiced Iron Man in Next Avengers. And so when it's going more the darker routes, of course they had to do the Armor Wars episode, and it went on for like a good couple of episodes, at least 3, where he's fighting somebody and he noticed one of the bad guys has armor like his and he doesn't understand how. And so he shuts himself off from that of Julia and Rhodey, and he just go about it himself, to where it's a really depressing scene where she's outside his beach house and she's like crying out to him, and he just looking at her through the window, and she's all like, "Why won't you let us in? Why won't you let us help you and stuff?" And he just like shuts his window, not paying attention to her because he's that depressed because people are getting hurt because somebody stole the designs from his armor. So he goes about it and he creates this device that when he puts it on on the armor, it disintegrates it. Well, this causes problems because the Crimson Dynamo got blown up or faked their death or something like that. And so now everybody's after Iron Man, thinking he's a murderer. And so nobody knows what's going on with him. And so Rhodey decides, all right, like fine, whatever. I'm gonna suit up this one time. And he goes after Iron Man, only for Iron Man to kick his butt. And it gets so bad that he gets claustrophobic again when he hits the water. And he has yet again another panic attack. And I've never seen anything like that in a cartoon series. So then, something happened. Oh, they had a Hulk crossover. So the Hulk, he crossed over into their show, voiced by somebody completely different. I think it's Ron Perlman or something like that. But then both Iron Man and War Machine crossed over into the Incredible Hulk cartoon series. And they both crossed over into the Spider-Man animated series, where Iron Man made multiple appearances, even in his Secret Wars episode. And so, like, it was like this whole Marvel universe before there was even the MCU. And then, so towards the end, the Mandarin finds all his rings. This is towards the end, the very last episode, and he creates this like diamond thing that shuts off all electricity in the world. Well, Iron Man armor is not going to work, so he uses some type of like new type of armor that feeds off his body electricity or something like that. And so Force Works decided they're gonna reunite and help him out. And it's a big, huge climactic battle between him. It's kind of like this first season between Force Works and the Mandarin and their people. And Iron Man, like, he whoops on the Mandarin so much in that huge blast that the Mandarin loses his memories and stuff, right? And then so he's in like another part of the country and he doesn't know who he is. And these people are like, oh, I think they thought he was trying to steal from them or something. So they took out their sword and they're getting ready to kill him and stuff. Now, there's also they introduce Nick Fury and Shield. It's the classic white Nick Fury. And in that episode, we get to discover Iron Man's father. Apparently, Shield has, or now I think it was either Shield knew where he was at, or the Hydra had him, or somebody like that. So we get to see Tony and his dad constantly go at it, right? Only to find out it's not really his father; it's a clone, and he's working for Hydra and stuff. And we get to see that emotional anger that Tony has towards his father that we see so many times in other mediums and stuff. This was a really good cartoon series. And like the voice acting, it changed from like both seasons. However, the person who voiced Iron Man, Robert Hayes, he remained for both seasons. Now, War Machine changed. In the first 5 episodes of the first season, it was James Avery, Uncle Phil from First Prince of Bel-Air, but then Dorian Harewood from episode 6 onward towards the end of season 2. This is on, what's that called? Disney Plus. It's on DVD. Check it out, at least the second season. Don't watch the first season. Just don't watch the first season. Or if you want to just see how cheesy it is, you can. But the second season is such good. When you hear that theme song, man, it will light you up. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.